Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. Today's webinar will be broken up into two parts. The first portion will be led by Robert Meehan and will provide an overview of the RNCareers site. In the second portion, Delora will give tips on how to create a resume and cover letter to attract employers. She will be joined by several nursing guest speakers. Please note you cannot speak during the webinar. If you have any questions, please type it in the chat box and it will be addressed at the end of the session.
Good morning, everyone, and happy Nurses Week. Erica, can you confirm that you can hear me?
Yep, the sound is good.
Perfect. Hi, Erica, just can you confirm you can hear me one more time?
Yep, Robert, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. The video you just watched was an advertisement for RNCareers.ca, the official nursing careers site from the Registered Nurses Association of Ontario, RNAO. My name is Robert Meehan, and for the next little while, I'm going to be presenting on the site. What I want to cover today is first just a brief introduction of the site, give you an overview of it, and then I want to go over the site's offerings from both the employer and job seeker perspectives, because the site does cater to both audiences. And on that note, I just want to welcome participants of this webinar who belong to one or perhaps both of those cohorts. Understanding the user experience from both sides is really going to give you some great insight into how RNAO draws both audiences and strives to make the user experience better for you on both sides. So let's just talk first about who we are as a website and an organization. RNCareers is a niche career site, meaning we advertise to a specific audience, namely the nursing community. It is the first online career board of its kind that was created to meet the needs of Canadian nursing professionals specifically. So being a niche site, we don't host non-nursing positions like what you would see on popular volume-based career boards, where you see positions posted across every industry and everyone represented. But we specifically post only nursing positions and healthcare positions. We want to make sure that the goals, of course, of the career site directly align with the objectives of RNAO as a whole, and ensure that we are providing seamless, meaningful applicant experiences and job seeker experiences for our audiences. And as I mentioned, the site has been owned and operated by RNAO for nearly 20 years, and we do strive to provide the best online experiences for job seekers and employers. So here's a screenshot of the landing page of the site, which you can see features a clean, user-friendly design, and it's really been informed by a lot of extensive user experience and web design research. We want to make sure we're providing the easiest on the eye, best user-friendly experience for our site users. And I think it's definitely reflected in the layout and design of the site, which has gone over a few changes in the past years. But this is what it currently looks like. So here's just a few metrics on the site that we feel really stand out for us. And highlight our achievements over the years. In the past year specifically, we've had over 72,000 positions posted on the site in the past year, and they've been a blend of NP, RN, and RPM positions across all levels of nursing, which include executive, administrative, and management positions. And they've included both clinical and non-clinical roles across all healthcare sectors. On average, we do see about 260 views per job from interested job seekers, and we've delivered over 250,000 job alerts to job seekers in the past year, which is a feature, job alerts, that I will go into a little more detail on shortly. Our resume database has over 10,000 resumes from interested job seekers, and we have over 19,000 registered job seekers on the site overall. So in terms of who the employer users of our site are, you can see from the sample of logos here that there's quite a variety and range. They can include employers in government, hospital, large health networks, nonprofit sectors, and so forth. So on that note, I just want to talk a little bit about the user experience for the employer. I want to go over some site features, not with the intention of providing you a technical tutorial, but rather a demonstration of how both employer and job seeker users can get the most out of the site and become power users and use the site to its full potential, essentially. So employer users have a variety of options when it comes to posting positions on RNCareers. As you can see from the matrix grid here, it shows you the site's package grading. So we have our qualified package, practicing, experienced, and specialist. So as you move up in the, from the beginning, actually, the qualified package, you can see your ad is posted on our site, rncareers.ca. In addition to that, RNAO will advertise your job posting across its various social media channels, including Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. And these have large audiences of nursing professionals and interested job seekers, so you really get a lot of exposure just at that level alone. And as you move up in the grading scale, you see, specifically with our most popular package among employer users, the experience package, it does include a few extra perks. And at this level, you get what you get in the earlier packages, but you also get your ad highlighted in search results to make it stand out to job seekers more prominently. And you also get resume database access. I'll go into that a little more detail as well. And the ad is going to be advertised directly on the rncareers.ca landing page, which again makes it stand out a lot more prominently to interested job seekers. Now, before I get into specific features, I just want to touch on employer profile development. Once an employer goes through the simple account creation process and is logged in, they can click the Your Company Profile tab and start providing organization details that are going to appear in a standard format across all of their job postings. Details you want to include are obviously your organization name, but as well you want to include descriptions about the organization, which could include your values, your mission statement, and so forth. And of course, your organization's logo. And with regards to the logo, I would strongly recommend uploading a high resolution version of your organization's logo, because you want to ensure that your ad is going to stand out, look professional, and attract job seekers. Keep in mind that, as I mentioned, the ad is also going to appear in RNAO's social media posts. So it's important that the audiences see a post that pops and has that high resolution, professional looking logo. Now, I briefly mentioned the resume database feature, so I want to go into a little more detail about this. Now, the most proactive job seekers who want to position themselves and take full advantage of the site will upload their resume to our secure database so that employers can actually seek them out rather than vice versa. So if employers are looking for potential candidates with specific qualifications, credentials, experience, and so forth, they can actually browse the database and search by key terms. So you'll notice on the screenshot that candidate information is actually redacted here. Now, when employers post jobs and are granted access to this database, they can only see a candidate's full information, which include contact details, when they unlock the entry using their credits. Now, the intention here is actually to ensure confidentiality and privacy of job seekers who opt to upload their personal information to our site. Their security is of utmost concern for us, of course. And speaking of job seekers, I'm going to switch gears here and talk about the user experience of rncareers.ca from their perspective. Now, the first thing job seekers will want to do when using the site is create an account for themselves. The process was made to be intentionally simple, and this is to encourage job seekers to leverage the site to its full capacity. Now, mind you, creating an account is not mandatory. It is strongly recommended, however. Now, I'll elaborate on that a little bit by referring back to the resume database. Now, once you've registered your job seeker account on the site, you can just click the Your Resume tab at the top and very simply upload your resume or CV. And you can actually upload in a variety of formats, as you can see here. Personally, I've always preferred either a PDF or Word document myself. And notice the checkbox indicating whether or not you'd like to include your resume in the candidate database. I would recommend that you include it in the database if you'd like to give employers the opportunity to reach out to you directly. If not, at least the resume is uploaded and readily available for you to include in your applications that you put through on the site. Next, I want to talk about another key feature of the site that's really going to help job seekers place themselves ahead of competition, and those are job alerts. And job alerts are custom notifications that you can set that will keep you up to date on jobs that are posted, which meet specified criteria. For example, if I was a job seeker who wanted to know when RNAO posted positions, I would type the name of the organization in the keywords field here and click Create Alert. I can set job alerts based on the names of specific healthcare employers or organizations, or I can do it based on key terms. So if I was interested in nurse practitioner positions, I would type nurse practitioner, I would create an alert for that. I could type NP, I can do a variety of things with those job alerts. And you really wanna use those to your full advantage and customize them to your specifications. Now, once you set your job alert, you can actually manage them after the fact. So if, for example, you want to modify the key term criteria of a job alert you've already created, you can do that in the management system, and you can actually delete job alerts altogether if you're no longer interested in positions from an organization or getting email notifications about certain positions. Like if you didn't want to get your nurse practitioner positions, you could just click delete and you won't get those emailed to you anymore. Now, another great feature for job seekers on RNCareers is the ability to save jobs while browsing. So say you're passively looking through a large volume of jobs and you don't have the time to apply right away, you can basically click the Save star at the top right of any position, and the position will be saved. And after that, you can refer back to your jobs that you've saved in the Your Jobs tab. So you'll see the position I just starred here, the nursing professional position. I can see that here, and I can go back to view the job and submit my application. Once I've submitted that application, it will actually be archived in the applications section here in the Your Jobs tab. So I can actually keep track of the positions I've applied for directly on the site. The site also has a bank of useful resources for both job seekers and employers that I definitely would recommend you make use of and check out. And there's articles, for example, outlining tips for employers, such as how to leverage yourself ahead of the competition in the nursing field, and how to impress employers by keeping easy to remember job seeking tips in mind. And employers also have articles at their disposal. They can read up on how they can use the site optimally, for example. Now, as a side note for job seekers, I just want to briefly touch on your professional liability requirements. And when you're working as a nurse in Ontario, you want to remember that the CNO does require that you hold a minimum of $2 million in professional liability protection, which is, of course, in your best interest. So if you're already a member of RNAO, you're automatically entitled to $10 million in liability protection per claim at the time of this webinar, May 2020. There's also, right now, a limited time offer where you can join RNAO or renew your membership for only $50. And if you've recently graduated from an undergraduate nursing program, you can actually join for free right now. So I want to thank you for your time. I'm now going to field any questions you might have about the site that may have come through during the presentation. I'll hand it to Erica to facilitate this process.
Thank you, Robert. So if you have any questions, please type it in the chat box because you are on mute during this webinar. All right, our first question, Robert, is you mentioned the site caters to nurses across Canada. Are there lots of positions posted for every province?
That's a great question. So, as you might imagine, given the association with RNAO, Registered Nurse Association of Ontario, I will say that predominantly we do see a lot of positions within Ontario, but we do have a lot of positions that are outside of Ontario as well. It is open to job seekers and employers nationwide. So we see it also depends on the volume of population. So there's a lot more nursing positions available in Ontario. So we get more positions posted. But you do see a spread of positions across different provinces and territories, of course.
Our next question is, how often are job postings updated?
So job postings are uploaded daily. You'll see new ones every day. If you just, it depends on the time of the day when you log in. You can, I would recommend checking daily if you are an active job seeker, essentially, or periodically throughout a day.
All right, our next question is, may I ask, what about careers within the nursing advocate field, perhaps RNAO specific careers where nurses advocate for real nursing issues? Our current climate is exposing vulnerabilities for practicing nurses, so this couldn't be a better, okay, it's more of a comment. This couldn't be a better time, thank you. The next question is there a cost associated with making accounts?
No. So job seekers can create free accounts. In fact, you don't even have to be a member of RNAO. I'm not sure if I mentioned that. It's open to the general public, no cost associated for job seekers. Their employers, we do host positions for a fee, and they start at $395 for 60-day postings at the first package I mentioned, the qualified, and they can range all the way to $995, and that really just depends on the level of exposure that you want for your position. If you want a 60-day ad just on the site and you want that RNAO social media exposure, it would be $395, and then at the upper bound price range, you're looking at $995 for all those different perks, and that gets you the maximum amount of exposure. It gets the word of your position post to the nursing community in its largest regard.
What about careers within the nursing advocate field?
Sorry, I missed that. There was a sound in the background.
What about careers within the nursing advocate field? Are there a lot of postings in relation to that?
Related to advocacy, well, RNAO as an organization caters to those sorts of positions, but I would say that the majority of the general population that posts, or the general employer population, is nursing positions proper. So that in hospital, healthcare, health networks, and so forth.
Great. We're going to actually have several nursing guest speakers in the second portion of the webinar, and they can also talk about advocacy as well in that session. If there's any more questions, please type it into the chat box.
Okay. Are there any more questions, Erica, or should I move on?
I think there's one more.
Okay.
Do you have a section where we can have help upgrading our resume?
Help upgrading your resume?
Yes. Is there a section in the RNCareers site that helps to upgrade your resume?
In terms of job seeker resources, I believe there may have been a resume tips article, but in terms of like firsthand help or someone to reach out directly, we don't have a long-standing service for that sort of thing. My colleague Delore is going to actually go into detail on resume and cover letter writing tips here shortly. But it's something we can think about for the future in terms of a sustainable resource for job seekers. That would be great.
Is there a student nurse category to assist with finding a job?
That would just be based on the key terms you use to search for positions. Those sorts of key terms would definitely be highlighted in search results. So if you're looking for a specific position in nursing in any field, just type it into the search field and you'll probably get a number of hits for any key term.
Okay, that's it for Robert's session. If you have any questions that Robert was unable to answer during the session, please feel free to send him an email. We're now going to move on to the second portion of our webinar. Dolores will lead the session and will introduce our nursing guest speakers.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, tremendous. Hello, everyone. I'm sorry about the technical difficulties that we are having right now, but it's a new reality that we are all living in. To be honest with you, this is the first time I'm conducting a webinar in terms of via Zoom. My style is usually very, very interactive, and I like walking around with my audience when I'm sharing my tips on resumes and cover letters. However, first of all, I want to say hats off and thank you for all of the extraordinary work that you're all doing as nurses, as nurse practitioners, and nursing students. Taking care of people when they're most vulnerable is so admirable. 2020 is the year of the nurse, but with COVID and the work that you all do on a daily basis, it has become a lot about caring for patients. As a disclaimer, I am not a nurse, but for the past seven and a half years, yes, it's been that long, I've had the privilege of hiring nurses and working with nurses. I have over 20 years of experience in the oil and gas industries, in the banks, insurance, pharmaceutical, healthcare, and nonprofit associations. So in terms of giving you tips on cover letters and resumes, I've got experience in a wide variety of fields. Now, today with me, I've got a team of nurses that will be assisting in terms of questions, in terms of specialities in nursing. With me, I have Ermagine Baynock, Heather McConnell, Catherine Jewell, Brittany Groom, Christina Medeiros, and Christine Buchanan. My presentation today, like I said, it's tips on resumes and cover letters. It's basically marketing yourself, your skills, and accomplishments. And here again, always remember, these are just my tips and on cover letters and resumes that I've seen over the years. At the end of the day, your cover letter, your resume is your own. So feel free to incorporate or not. In terms of workshop goals, by the end of the session, you'll be able to promote your transferable skills, learn how to write an effective cover letter, and learn how to write an effective resume. Your cover letter and resume are your tools to capture the employer's attention. Like Robert Mahan said, in terms of technology and in terms of the system at RNCareers, you have to use keywords. Where do you think you will find keywords? See, at this point in my presentation, I normally get the audience to participate. However, if you've guessed and you have said that it's going to be in the advertisements, you're correct. So carefully read advertisements and use keywords to describe your accomplishments. Most employers, they use keyword searches to screen resumes and cover letters. And if your documents are missing the keywords, you may be screened out of an interview. Use keywords and synonyms throughout your resume. Keywords, search for jobs, of course, that you're interested in and describe your experience and skills using similar terminology. Remember, you will have to tailor your cover letter and resume to each role. One size does not fit at all. Many times, you may feel that your cover letter and resume, I can just change the employer's name and send it to that employer for a role that you're looking for. It doesn't work that way. Employer wants to see that you actually have been doing the tasks that they've outlined and the responsibilities. Keywords can include the minimum diploma and degree requirement, the particular skills, technical, clinical, that are relevant to the job. Of course, if you're a nurse, you should have your nursing degree. You should be an RN if you're applying for an RN role. Also, you need to use up-to-date language and popular terms in the health sector. Currently, right now, popular words in job ads are health promotion, determinants of health, interprofessional team, collaborative practice. And I'm sure you have been doing these, you have been participating in this kind of work. You just need to make sure you've got these keywords in your cover letter and in your resume, okay? And also some employers ask for you to be a member of a professional association. This could be membership in RNAO or RNCareers, etc. Hiring managers are looking for candidates with specific skills and qualifications they consider necessary for their vacancies. These are hard skills. Like I said before, if you're applying for a nursing role, for an RN role, you should have your BSc and be an RN. Transferable skills is also very, very important in terms of job search and in terms of when you're looking for work. Now, along with technical skills, employers want candidates with other skills. Transferable skills these are skills that you can take from one job to another. You may have learned these skills in previous jobs, in school, through your volunteer work, and heck, even raising a family, you got some transferable skills. What do you think are transferable skills? Transferable skills, effective communication. Totally, you can use effective communication in most jobs, in every job actually. This includes presentation skills, listening skills, problem solving. This is something, again, you take from one job to the next. Creating new options, solutions. Organization, a key transferable skills. Leadership, whereby you have confidence, you're able to motivate and able to inspire. And of course, interpersonal skills, your ability to adapt to different situations, to be flexible, to be empathetic. As a nurse, I'm sure you all have this in great doses. Illustrate in your cover letter and resume how your transferable skills fits the role that the employer is looking for. Now, what do you think the purpose of the cover letter is? And you know, cover letters, resumes, we've all done it. But today, I'm just giving you some tips as a reminder. Yes, the purpose of a cover letter is to grab the employer's attention. I recommend always address your cover letter to a person. I know everyone is thinking, but they never say it in the ad. This is true. However, you need to stand above the crowd in terms of how you're approaching an employer. So do some research. Go on their website, through your networking, ask who the hiring managers are. So this way you can address your letter to a person, and of course, you have that ability to follow up later on. And of course, illustrate that you have the skills for the role and that you are a fit. Of course, the purpose of the cover letter is for you to be hired. Now, in terms of cover letter, this is the format that I find works. It follows like sort of, it's a letter. It has 4 paragraphs with the first paragraph being obvious. You state the job or the position that you're applying for. Indicate how you have learned about the role. It could be through RNCareers or careers in nursing, or it could be a person told you about this role. I think it's always a good idea to indicate how you've learned about the opening. Mention your enclosed resume. This whole first paragraph section should be 1 to 2 sentences. It's enough. In your second paragraph, indicate your qualifications for the role, and it should be specific and relevant to the position, and illustrate how your experience qualifies you for the job. Now, in terms of the third paragraph, relate your knowledge of the hospital or healthcare institution and incorporate how you can contribute to their organizational goals, or their objectives, their vision, and their mission. This, of course, if you look at any employer's website, it's right there. So sort of look at the terminology that they're using and sort of adopt it in your cover letter. Your fourth paragraph, mention your willingness to have a meeting for an interview. Your closing remarks can be about 1 to 2 sentences, thanking the reader for the time. And here's a sort of thing that I think is really cool. Sincerely or yours truly, you're putting your name, but recommend putting your designation. So if you're a nurse, Mary Smith, RN. It's sort of just a gentle reminder that you're qualified and you are an RN. Are we okay? I hope so. I'm now going to be speaking, of course, about a resume. What is the purpose of a resume? Somers said, this is done in 2002. Heck, it seems so far away, but a lot of it still holds true. The main purpose of the resume is to get you an interview or an opportunity to present yourself. In person, it says here, the potential employer should be convinced that you are the right person for a job and want to meet with you. I know with the COVID and everything else that's going on, meeting that prospective employer could be, well, it will be either through a phone call or it could be through a Zoom meeting. And that should be for us to provide another seminar to you in terms of that sort of an area. However, for today's sort of session, we'll just talk about the resume. So the main purpose of that resume is to get you a meeting with the prospective employer. It's a marketing tool. The resume, it sells a product, and that product is you. An effective resume, it represents your knowledge, your skills, and your achievements, and it should be done in a convincing way. It gives the reader an immediate sense of who you are and what you can do for them. There are two main types of resume. There's the chronological resume, is the most popular one, and there's a functional resume. The chronological resume, like the name says, it's basically listing your work history in a chronological order with your most recent experience at the top. It highlights the dates, your position, and your responsibilities. And normally with a chronological, with your last job being at the top, it's usually a strong indicator of your career advancement, your increased responsibility, and of course at that top, it'll have a more senior titles. Then, of course, there is the functional resume. These kinds of resumes are in which you highlight your individual skills and your accomplishments. And normally this is best if you're making a career change or if there are gaps in your employment history. Personally, I have used the functional resume. A little bit about myself. I'm a marketing graduate with a major, I'm a business graduate with a major in marketing. And I had my kids. I spent a couple of years at home. Then I wanted to go back into the marketplace. So in order to do that, my resume was functional, whereby I stressed my transferable skills. Resume headings, what I find works, and like I said, I've looked at many resumes over my years of recruiting and whatnot. I think sort of having it in 8 sort of headings. The first heading being with the caption, it should include your name, your telephone number, and your email address. And there are many styles of doing this. You can center it in the middle, or you can do it right-sided formatting. But just make sure on every page of your resume, you've got your name and a phone number. Second heading could secondly have an objective. I find an objective is more useful for new grads or nursing students, or like new grads that's got maybe 1 to 2 years of experience. You identify the role that you're applying for, and of course it should be concise and specific and focus on your skills. It's usually about 1 or 2 sentences. Like a sample objective could be to pursue a role as a public health nurse with X hospital, where I can contribute my strengths in health promotion, program planning, and evaluation. And as you're looking at this sample objective, the words like health promotion, program planning, and evaluation, these are all words that are probably going to be in that employer's advertisement. Now, make sure that you've actually had experience in these fields. A second sample of an objective, you could say, to contribute expert clinical knowledge and skills in cardiology, or it could be peds, and be a member of the interprofessional team in the position of registered nurse at X, Y, or Z general hospital. Now, a profile is normally it's used for nurses, or if you've got many years of experience. And in this profile, it's a summary of your professional identity. You'll emphasize your specialized skills and your accomplishments, and with an emphasis of your expertise and specialty. Here's a sample. You could be if you're looking for a public health nursing role, you could say you're a dynamic public health nurse who provides evidence-informed nursing care through comprehensive health assessment, supportive counseling, education, advocacy, case management, and collaboration with other professionals. So it's sort of a profile of all the things that you've done in a very nice summary. Or if you're looking for a leadership role, here's a very simplistic sort of a profile. Effective team leader with strong analytical and decision-making skills, recognized for collaboration and team building skills. Now, in terms of headings, education include the name of the educational institution, its location, and the degree or certificate that you've obtained. And here again, do it in a chronological order, with the latest one being at the top. Your experience. Start with your most recent or your current job. Under each entry, include dates of employment, your job title, your name, and location of that employer. Under each position, write a brief description of your job responsibilities and your accomplishments pertaining to the keywords identified. Now, include a bulleted list of your experience and highlighting key skills and achievements. Employers like to see not only tasks and responsibilities, they like to see what you have achieved through doing your job. For example, if you've earned any awards, list it. If you've shown an initiative whereby you've improved workflow, or you've enhanced patient satisfaction, if you've saved money or time, if you've been a preceptor to new staff, these are all great responsibilities that you can detail. Use action words to begin each bullet point, describing your activities and accomplishments. In terms of action words, there are so many of them. If you do a quick search on the web, there's so many. For example, action words that are really cool in terms of nursing, you could say formulated, managed, collaborated, monitored, analyzed. These are all action words that can be used to describe your functions. Now, pay close attention to what tense your verbs are, with present tense for your current job and past tense for your past jobs. And of course, you're not going to use the same word for consecutive bullet points. There's so many out there. Use different ones. Now, volunteer experience, I think, is really cool, and most employers like to see people that have volunteer experience. Now, in terms of your volunteer experience, illustrate how the transferable skills that you've gained there is applicable to the role that you're pursuing. And of course, professional activities include membership or your involvement in professional associations, RNAO, or other special interest group. Include your professional activities such as internships, part-time nursing assistant, and if you've done research on different projects or any initiative, include that under your professional activities. Now, publications and presentations. A lot of nurses and nursing students, they may have done a publication, they may have authored or co-authored. As nurses, you may have done articles on patient education. In terms of patient education materials, you may have done that. You may have done letters to the editor. Or perhaps you have participated in RNAO best practice guidelines development. These are all good things to include on their publications and presentations. Now, references, there are two schools of thought. Some people like to put reference as a heading, some people don't. However, no harm. References, simply you can say, will be furnished upon request. I would never recommend that you attach a list of references. You can prepare them and have it ready, but please do not include it in that resume. Now, before listing anyone as a reference, ask for their consent and inform them of the role that you're applying for. And here again, ask them what they're going to say about you. Trust me, it could be different from what you're thinking they will say. And you may reconsider using that person as a reference. So please, before listing anyone as a reference, ask for their consent and inform them of the position that you're applying for. Now, as a summary, yes, we're getting there. I've got some resume do's and some resume don'ts. Your resume do's. Do make sure that your resume should be maximum 2 to 3 pages. For nursing students, actually, I find 1 page could sort of summarize your task, your experience and whatnot. Emphasize your accomplishments and results. Just don't list the job functions. Now, and again, I'll reiterate, personally customize your resume for each role that you're applying for. Include your name and number on each page of a resume. And proofread. Please, you do not want to have mistakes on your resume. Resume don'ts. Don't include irrelevant information. There's no need for you to include your birth date, your nationality, or your official affiliation with any religious or political order. Don't use acronyms unless they are spelled out the first time. Don't mention salary. And I've said before, don't attach reference letters. And again, don't send out your resume indiscriminately to so many people. Send it to a person. Now, you need to be recognized as being above the crowd of all those applicants. Here's a few ways to do so. Be a member of RNAO. We are the professional association of registered nurses in Ontario. We are the strong, credible voice leading the nursing profession to influence and promote healthy public policy and clinical excellence. And as you all know, our signature program is the best practice guidelines. Now, here again, in terms of visibility and wanting to be above the crowd, volunteering at RNAO, be a student ambassador. Get involved at the local level at RNAO chapters. It's the opportunity to meet executives and leaders. Be a stakeholder reviewer in development of our best practice guidelines, and you could be recognized in publication. Participate in interest groups and community events. Attend RNAO annual general meeting. There, I made a faux pas. I didn't spell out AGM. So it's the AGM is our annual general meeting. And this year, it's going to be in a very different format. And at the annual general meeting, you're able to see how nurses have a voice. And it gives you that opportunity to network, network, network. And through networking, a lot of opportunities, you can hear about a lot of opportunities. So my presentation is coming to that end, but in terms of if you've got any sort of questions, please feel free to send me an email at dsarang@rnao.ca. And if you've got any sort of career counseling that you may need, here again, send me an email and I'll be pleased to assist you. Now, I invite you to ask questions. And with me, like I said, I've got a team of nurses and they come with specialties from many different fields. Erica, I'm hoping at this point in time, we're able to answer some questions.
Thank you, Delore. So our first question is around advocacy. Where can I get more information on careers where nurses help advocate for nurses, specifically the current prevalence of cyberbullying of nurses as relates to societal pressures caused by our current pandemic?
Erica, I'm thinking perhaps Armagine, you may be able to answer that question for us.
Start, and I'm sure others will have things to add. Certainly, I think organizations, the organized nursing profession is an area where you could look at advocacy type roles. And we do have two members on our panel right now, Brittany Groom and Catherine Jewell, who are experienced nurses for the past 6 years and have moved into an RNAO position in policy, where there are many opportunities to advocate. I would also, though, before they take the mic, just really reinforce the slide that Delore had about standing out. If you are a member of RNAO, you have many opportunities to gain skills and experiences in advocacy. If you're a member of the chapter, if you're a member of an interest group, and much of RNAO's work is directed by the voices of interest group members who might be advocating for a particular area. And that moves right into RNAO's policy and further policy work. So I'll stop there, and maybe others want to pick up, but it's an excellent question.
Thank you, Armagine. Oh, sorry, Catherine, go ahead.
No, take it away, Brett.
So I was just going to add on to that. So not only Catherine and I transitioned from that role, both from Sick Kids actually to RNAO in the health policy analyst role. But I was going to say a lot of the advocacy that takes place as a bedside nurse happens when you join different committees within your role. So it might not be your full-time position at the time, but I found that in your organization, whenever you can kind of branch out and join committees or interest groups or associations, like Armagine said, like our RNAO and Pediatric Nurses Interest Group was something that I was involved in. I feel like that's where your advocacy really comes into place. I did nursing practice council within my unit, so you really get a broader awareness of what's going on within the organization and beyond the organization. But then you take what you've learned at the bedside and all of those firsthand lessons, and you're really experiencing what you're advocating for. So that would be my take.
I would agree with everything Brittany and Armagine have added in regards to nurses doing advocacy work. And the only thing I would add there is that you can try to leverage some of the social media that you are involved in. If there's a specific issue you're really passionate about, and you know others that are also really interested in it, like cyberbullying, for example, for nurses, find other people that share your concern and find ways to tackle the problem together. You can raise awareness about it on your social media platforms. You can share with colleagues that are in different networks, maybe not directly working in your organization, but across different sectors, and try to really bring some momentum to the issue. So I think there's ways that you can leverage your specific interests using social media specifically. It's a really great tool to get information out there, not only to other nurses, but to the public in general. And I just agree with Brittany. We're both doing policy work full time now, but you don't have to necessarily be in this type of formal role in order to be super effective at advocacy.
Another question for our panel of nurses. I have 2 degrees and a master's in nursing. I find it difficult to find jobs at my level. Are there any tips for finding these high-level senior type careers?
Heather or Ermagine, would you like to tackle that one?
I can start. I think one of the things you really want to look at is what type of a role are you interested in, obviously, that can utilize your skills and knowledge that you've gained through your years as a nurse. I would also suggest and recommend that you really use your networking resources that you've developed over the years, whether it's colleagues you've worked with in the past, people that you know from work that you might have done either internally or externally to your organization. Many more senior level roles really are found through networking. We obviously have senior roles on RNCareers, and we post those regularly, so you can keep your eyes open for that. But honestly, much of those types of things really come through connections that you have through your nursing networks, and those that know the quality of your work and know the types of skill sets that you have, that they can help identify opportunities for you either within their organization or externally. So the more people you have that can help support that kind of job search, the more likely you'll be able to find something that best matches your skill set and your interests. I don't know, I think that Ermagine slipped off the call. Delara, do you have anything else that you want to add to that?
No, I totally agree with you. Like networking is key in terms of senior level work.
I can just add one more thing to that. I agree with Heather exactly with what you said. I think looking for master's level jobs as well, thinking about some of those keywords in the job advertisement, so things like advanced practice nurse, manager positions, just kind of when you're looking, kind of screening jobs, looking for jobs online, looking for some of those keywords can kind of identify where it might be a master's level nursing position as well.
Thank you, Christine.
Another question we have is, how do you address obvious gaps in your resume?
Erica, I can sort of answer that one. It's Dolores Saran. Now, in terms of gaps of resume, you could consider doing a functional resume whereby you are you can talk about your transferable skills. But if in terms of your gaps, if it's 1 or 2 years, you know what? Most employers these days, they understand, like if there is a gap, if you take years off in terms of minding your kids, that's perfectly fine. If you've taken time off to look after a sick parent, that's perfectly acceptable too. Like it's normal. So I think if there are gaps in your resume, be honest about it.
As a nurse, there's a lot of hard skills we learn, like NG tube insertion. Should these be included on a resume?
I can speak to that. I think when you have a nursing degree, it's sort of understood that you would have acquired all of the necessary skills to fulfill the role. And so NG tube insertion is part of the curriculum for nursing programs across the province. So I don't think you have to call out those specific skills. Most employers should be able to recognize you are a registered nurse, you've completed a BSCN, and you have those skills already just by virtue of completing the program and doing placements. So I would focus more on the skills that are going to set you apart from other nurses that are applying for the job, like your ability to do leadership, your ability to work on an interprofessional team. Focus more on those things that are really going to make you an outstanding nurse, aside from the skills that are already incorporated in the curriculum for all the nurses to go through.
Thank you, Catherine.
Just to build on that as well, one more thing. If it is something, an extra certification that you may have, like an ACLS or an NRP, those types of skills or certifications would be important to include, since they're kind of outside of the undergraduate nursing curriculum.
Totally agree. Good point.
Thank you, Christina and Catherine.
Our next question is, as a new grad, how can I market myself for a specialty that I don't have any experience in, such as emergency setting?
I think building on what Christine had just said there, some of the specialty settings, such as emerge or critical care, they're often looking for those extra courses, for example, ACLS, or if you want to get into pediatrics, There's a course called PALS, which is Pediatric Advanced Life Support. Really look at some of those certifications that can further your knowledge based on the interested work areas for you. So if you go to the CNA website, for example, you can see there's lots of CNA certifications, or even when you're just looking on different postings with regards to specific specialties, pay really close attention to those sort of assets that are listed. So some of the extra courses that will maybe set you apart from others, employers will really take note of those extra courses that you've done that set you aside from the nurses who haven't done that type of extra work on top of their BSCN degree.
Oh, I have one more thing to, I have one more thing to add. Especially for pediatrics, there's also, if you didn't have any pediatric rotations in your actual BSCN, you could always say, like, I had volunteer experience for myself at a special needs school. So, so helping out with kids with special needs and autism, as well as volunteering at, like high schools, to kind of show that you do have experience with working with children, especially if you're applying to like a pediatric institution like Sick Kids.
And I think Christina makes a great point on that. You don't have to go out and spend tons of money on courses and all of these things to put yourself ahead all of the time. Sometimes it's about making those connections, using those volunteer opportunities, and then also seeking out different ways that you could probably pay for these courses through maybe the organization you're involved in has some sort of bursary or initiative. Sometimes even if you look to the RNAO, we've got opportunities like that that can help you out to advance your education without you spending a ton of money before even jumping into a career field.
Thank you, Brittany.
Thank you, everybody. We're now at 11 o'clock. Our time is up. If you have any questions that we weren't able to address, please send Laura an email. We'll make sure that it gets to the right person. You can also send me an email at edsouza@rnao.ca.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Erica, Robert, and all of our nurses. Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Happy Nursing
Thanks,
Week.
everyone, for joining us.
Happy Nursing Week.
Happy
Bye now.
Nursing Week.